The guy had a diary where he wrote every single detail about his life, all the secrets he kept from the world. And this diary would reveal everything that led to him being killed, except for one tiny detail: the identity of his killer. So let's see if you can solve this mystery before the police did. It all started when the victim was found dead in his apartment. He was a 32-year-old man named Alan, and he worked at a local bookstore. The man had been stabbed multiple times in the chest, and the killer had taken his life. And all of this was written down in his diary. It detailed his life, his relationships, and his deepest secrets. They knew that Alan had a gambling problem, and he had borrowed money from loan sharks before. It was his ex-girlfriend, Sarah. She was the only person who knew about Alan's gambling problem. When they arrived at his house, they noticed that it looked like a fortress. They tracked him down to a hotel room, and when they entered, they found him dead. He had been shot in the head, and the police were called in to investigate. They still had Alan's diary, and they believed that it held the key to the mystery. They went to Alan's workplace and asked if anyone matched the description. It seemed like he had disappeared into thin air. They had followed every lead in Alan's diary and had come up empty-handed. He was surprised to see the police, and he tried to run away, but they caught up to him quickly. But James surprised them. He didn't confess right away, but he still hadn't confessed. Was he really innocent, or was he just really good at hiding his guilt? Instead, he sat there calmly sipping water and smiling innocently. James was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without parole. But even after all that evidence, James still didn't confess. He maintained his innocence until the day he died. The police were frustrated, but they weren't giving up. Even though the diary had lots of details about Alan's life, it didn't say who killed him. Sure, it had entries about his last days and his problems with loan sharks and gambling, but nothing concrete about his death. That's why the police jumped to the conclusion that James was the killer. But maybe he was just another person from Alan's life that the diary didn't mention. Maybe it wasn't James at all. They had gathered enough evidence to charge James with murder, and they were determined to prove his guilt in court. Check out our videos about a missing woman and a diary. You won't believe what happened next. Thanks for watching. When they arrested him, he didn't resist. He knew that he couldn't outrun the law forever. Just when they were about to give up, one of the detectives had a brilliant idea. He remembered that Alan had talked about meeting someone at a local park. The detective thought that maybe that's where James was hiding. The police checked all the usual places and even put out a warrant for his arrest. But there was no sign of James. It was like he had vanished. One of Alan's coworkers said that he had seen someone fitting. That description and that person's name was James. James was a regular customer at the bookstore, and he was always friendly with the staff. But the police had a feeling that there was more to him than met the eye. They went through the diary again and found another interesting entry. This time, Alan talked about a new friend he had made. According to the diary, the person was a bit of a troublemaker, always getting into fights and causing problems. But Alan said that he liked the person's energy and wanted to spend more time with him. Could this mysterious person be the one who had killed Alan? There were bars on the windows and security cameras everywhere, but the police were prepared and they knew how to get inside. As they searched the house, they found a lot of illegal weapons, which made them think that they were on the right track. But they couldn't find Mike anywhere. And she told the police that she knew he had borrowed money from loan sharks. But she was surprised when the police told her how much money was involved. But they weren't sure why. The police went through Mike's things and found out that he had connections to a dangerous crime family. They also found out that he had been involved in a lot of illegal activities, including drug trafficking and extortion. But they couldn't find anything that directly linked him to Alan. She said that she knew Alan owed money, but she had no idea that it was that much. She also told the police that she knew who the loan shark was. His name was Mike, and he was a scary man who didn't like to lend money. But those were small amounts compared to what Alan was talking about in his diary. So who could this mysterious person be? Was he someone Alan knew, or a complete stranger? Before we start, make sure to stay tuned, because in the end, we have a big surprise waiting for you. And it revealed a lot of people who had a motive to kill him. But the police were quick to determine that there were no signs of forced entry, and that there was nothing stolen or out of place. So they assumed that it was a crime of passion. But as they searched through the apartment, they came across something that made them change their minds. In Alan's bedroom, they found a diary with a last entry detailing how he was going to take his own life. The police immediately took the diary with them and started reading through it. What they discovered shocked them, and it became clear that this was not an ordinary case. As they dug deeper into Alan's life, they realized that he wasn't just a simple bookstore clerk. He was involved in some really dangerous stuff. In this entry, he talked about a big problem he was facing. And according to what he wrote, it seems like it was the main reason why he ended up getting killed. Alan said that he owed a large sum of money to a very dangerous man, and if he couldn't pay it back soon, he would be in serious trouble. This entry worried the police because it meant that someone wanted Alan dead. And if it was true, then that person could still be out there looking for more victims. And then there was one person whose name was written over and over again. And now we're going to tell you all about it. The first entry that caught the police's attention was written 2 weeks before Alan was found dead. Alan didn't give any names in his diary, but the police had a good idea who he was talking about. As the police continued their investigation, they came across a person who might have known something about Alan's mysterious death. The police thanked Sarah for the information and went to find Mike. Then they checked his computer and found out that he had traveled to another city. So the police went after him. When they checked his things, they found out that he had been carrying a gun, and they believed that he had killed himself. But the police weren't done yet. The police thought it was possible, and they started searching for him. They went to his house and surrounded it. But when they entered, they found that he wasn't there. Days turned into weeks, and the police were starting to lose hope. When they got to the park, they saw James sitting on a bench. When the police brought James in for questioning, they were hopeful that they finally had the killer. The trial was highly publicized, and everyone was eager to find out the truth. The prosecution had a strong case against James when the verdict was announced. You might be wondering, why didn't James confess? Well, here's the thing. If you want to know more about similar mysteries,